Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you after the Lakers versus the Timberwolves. Great game, very exciting, and as always, I'm joined by Combo, who is with me right now. Combo, how you doing? Oh, hang on for 1 second. Tell us how you're doing.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
That's right. Practice. So glad to have you up late at night with us. It's not always we don't always get you this way, but late night with Combo is great. And let's bring on referee Chip Clark to join us as well. What's up, Chip?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. Well, Combo, it's way past your bedtime, bro.
I know, man. I'm good. I'm just fixing my stuff here. I'm good.
Well,
how
Chip,
are you, man?
I'm good, man. I had to do stats for the Magic Celtics game tonight, so that's why I'm still wearing my polo. I just got home a little bit ago.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. So if you didn't know that, not only is Chip a college referee, but he also does the stats for the Orlando Magic. It has a great seat for the games. And if you've never seen it, I actually have seen it in person, somebody doing stats for an NBA game, and it is wild. I don't know how you keep up with all that.
It's crazy for sure. Yeah, it's exciting. You know, me as a referee, I tell you guys all the time, like, it's super stressful. Being a statistician is just almost exactly as stressful, maybe a little bit more, because these players' contracts depend on their stats, man. So you got to get every little bit right.
Right. Now, that said, they will go back, right, and kind of review the game film and for accuracy.
Yeah, and we review it mid-game too. Like, we're reviewing every play by play. We got a team of 4 at the table. One's calling, one's inputting. We got a secondary doing descriptors, and we got a tertiary that's looking at the plays as we call them out to make sure we're getting them right for accuracy and talking to Secaucus.
Awesome.
So is it a myth that the hometown players always get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to assists?
Yeah, it's a myth. Yeah, because there was multiple times tonight where they asked me about an assist, and I'm like, yeah, that Celtics play, that's an assist because it was an assist for us. It's got to be an assist for them. It's the same play.
Overseas, it's not a myth.
Really?
Well, I mean, it's tough because we can all download the games now. You can go through and click and watch every single one of them. I remember, like, Russ had 20 assists in a game, and I went through it, and it turned out it was only 19. And I remember tweeting it out, and then it went around, and they actually adjusted it, which they probably were going to do anyway. But or maybe it was 9 instead of 10, whatever it was. So either way, it's important that we get it accurate. And I think at this point, with the scrutiny we have on the game, they get it. So that's good to know.
Sure.
What was it like in the stadium? Were the Magic fans going nuts?
Oh, it was electric, man. There was a lot of Celtics fans there, but it was an electric atmosphere tonight for sure. Especially that third quarter when the Magic went on a run and they were playing stellar defense in the second half, holding Jaylen Brown, and then they went on that big run to start the third quarter, and it was loud. It was loud.
Yeah, so they had an 18-1 run to start the third quarter. They really upped the pressure, and I feel like with the Celtics, you can get them to fumble the ball a little bit when you put an extra guy on there or you get up in their face a little bit. I'm kind of wondering, when does Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum stop fumbling the ball? If you notice it, sometimes it's not even a turnover. They'll just kind of lose it for a second, have to go pick it up again, and that disrupts everything. And they just haven't quite figured that out. I mean, you notice you've seen what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I noticed it for sure. I mean, so listen, Brown had some of that tonight more than Tatum, in my opinion. Tatum went off tonight, man. Tatum was on fire for a while. And so, but being able to hold Brown in check, I mean, I guess, what did he end up with? Brown ended up with 19 still, but they held him in check for the most part in the second half. But yeah, Tatum going off for 36, but limiting those other role players from having bigger games. And it also helped the Magic that Drew Holiday was out tonight as well.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, I wanted to tweet it out. I was watching the game the other day when Drew was playing, but wasn't a factor at all in the first half. He almost didn't know he was playing. And I was going to say, this is the problem here. And as soon as he came alive, the Celtics took control of the game as well. He is that X factor.
He is an X factor.
And every team's got one of those. And especially when he does on both sides of the ball. But, and I guess it's easy. You're in the middle of the things. You start to ISO a little bit more. The ball isn't moving. And if that happens, Drew ends up getting the short end of the stick. He's not.
Yeah.
Ball. And someone's got to call, Missoula's got to call timeout and remind everybody, get the ball moving a little bit more, let, Drew loosen some things up, and then it makes it easier for everybody else. So that was good to see now. But again, I'm glad to see that I feel like the Magic have played well enough to be in this series. And certainly they played well enough that they shouldn't have been down 3-0. Right.
And then game two really hurt. Game two really hurt for them with Tatum out, not taking advantage of that opportunity on the road and then try to take over home court advantage, because the Magic do play pretty well at home. I mean, but it's, again, it's the age-old thing. Like, some things translate from the regular season to the playoffs and some of them don't, or some things don't. But then you look at offensive efficiency and they're pretty poor. The Magic are during the regular season. And that kind of held true in this series as well. And defense is kind of where the bread is buttered. Like, that's their thing, man. They're near the top of the league in defense. So, I mean, they've got to keep their defense, or keeping them in games, right? And they did it again tonight. And they gave themselves a chance, and then they were able to pull it off. So, I mean, kudos to the Magic for being able to get this to a 2-1 series with Drew out tonight. They probably should have taken advantage of game two. But again, what's the Celtics we're talking about? Like, I know you guys talk about the Celtics from time to time and specific players, and I'm pretty high on them, man. The way they finished the season, I've always felt they're going to be in the NBA Finals again this year. It's just my thought. So we'll see how it turns out. But the Magic gave themselves a chance to tie the series on Sunday, and we'll see how it goes.
Combo thoughts?
I did have a thought.
You had a thought when I said the Celtics go to the finals again.
No, I want to know why you guys think a young team like OKC is in a place where Vegas has them as the champs.
I don't know. Is that where they're favored over everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, OKC has had one of the most dominating seasons we've ever seen in terms of net rating and beating teams by a point margin, and that means something, right? And they're deep. They have the MVP or the co-MVP or the second MVP voting, whatever it's going to be. So they have that as well, and they play defense. It's a lot of things. So I could see why you'd favor them, but again, like, who are the how many teams could beat them in a 7-game series?
I mean, I think the Lakers could actually beat them, even though they lost tonight.
Right. Well, listen, Luka was sick, right? I think that was the line we all heard, and he looked that way, right? He was just,
So, I mean, Celtics could beat them, right? Cleveland could probably theoretically beat them, and that's maybe about it.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, Clippers have a chance.
Clippers have a
really
chance
right now.
I don't know if this is a popular opinion or not, but when I looked at the playoff brackets to start the playoffs, I always thought that this Lakers series with the Timberwolves was going to be was potentially the Lakers' toughest matchup from a matchup standpoint than anything that they may face. I'm not saying that the Wolves are better than the other teams they may face. I was looking at matchups, and I just felt like this was going to be a tougher matchup for the Lakers than what they would face in later rounds. So
that's fair.
I thought at the start Wolves in 6 in this series, and I know that was a bold prediction. It's looking like it could happen, but I expect the Lakers to rebound, especially if Luka is feeling a little bit better in a couple days.
So, Chip, you're in the building for Magic games. 2 observations I have about the Magic, and I want to hear your thoughts on them are, 1, I want to see Paulo and Franz play more off of each other. And the second thing is, especially in the series versus Celtics, it feels like they'll just inevitably lose the math game because they don't have enough shooting.
Well, yeah, I mean, the second part I absolutely agree with. And I agree with the first part, too, about Franz and Paulo playing off each other a little bit more. I think that could help be successful. You got to make shots, man. And here's the thing is, you got to create easier shots for yourself. Some of the shots they have to make to stay in games are tough shots. They're not open looks. They're contested they're contested middies, they're not getting those open looks in the corner as often as other. And when they do, they're just not as efficient from the perimeter as other teams. And so, like, it was big. You saw Franz hit a 3 in the third quarter. I can't remember the time, but it was his first 3 of the game. And it was like, finally, he looked at his hands and was like, finally it went in for me. Right. And so he's just struggling. He's got that little hitch in his 3-point attempt. And it's I don't know. It's messing with him, I think.
Well,
both Paulo and Franz could become better shooters for sure.
I agree.
And the side-by-side comparison to Franz from a couple of years ago with his shot now, whoever did that to him or however he got there needs to leave him alone, because it's painful for me to watch that rhythm being disrupted like that. I believe he hit his first three. Didn't Franz hit the first three?
He did hit his first three, but then he went cold for a little while from three. Yeah. I mean, he still ended up with over 30 points tonight. So he had a great game. I mean, an awesome game, but he was having to do it other ways. But then he went through that little lull, and then you saw him hit that one in the late in the third, I believe, and he was just like, all right, we can do this.
And I don't like either of their offenses right now, the way the Magic or the Celtics are executing it. And so down the stretch, it felt like a tough shot contest. That's really what it looked like to me.
Yes.
And then what's the deciding factor? Franz gets a layup, and he blew by maybe KP to get the layup. He got another one, and maybe even out of bounds, and he missed it on a kind of a runner layup thing. But the point was they were getting a little bit better shots, and then they went and pull that game out. So that's frustrating as a coach, because it's like I want to see them actually run the offense and get some other shots. But we saw that all night long from a lot of these teams that were just settling for these shots.
Well, we even commented between the statisticians, like while we're talking on our headsets or whatever. It's like the Celtics are lining up for their offense, and we're like, it's just they've got so many sets that they can run out of. Like, and the Magic, just compared to the Magic, it's they've got so many more sets that they can run, and they're actually moving and passing, and you feel like sometimes on the offensive end for the Magic, they've either gotten in a funk or
taking turns, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Taking turns, yeah.
Exactly.
That's the best way to say it. Will do that too. They get in those ruts as well, and
they got a lot better at that over the years, though.
Yeah. I mean, and listen, you have the players are better too at creating advantages, which is sort of what we were missing. Watching a little bit in the Lakers game, is the Lakers couldn't seem to create any significant advantages, so they got stuck on the perimeter a lot. They didn't go to like LeBron down low in the post. It was weird. Now they were trying to get Rui when they had Mike Conley guarding him, but if you notice what the Magic did, or not what the Timberwolves did, is you look at some of the minute allocation and go figure. Guess how many minutes Rudy Gobert played tonight?
All right, tell me. I didn't see it.
25 minutes. Now, who was the one who saying they need to keep the minutes like 24, 25? That's how they won the first game, and that's how they won this game. The problem with Rudy, and I did the video, please go watch it if you haven't, because it's really good in terms of, I think, poking some myths that we saw on Twitter about how effective he's been in the ISOs. They didn't ISO against him tonight. It was very, very strange, because I would have thought that if JJ looked at the footage and he saw what I saw and I pointed out, they would have been like, great, we got to do this again. Now, the only problem is that if Luka was really struggling physically and was sick, I guess that must have taken them out of their game plan. He didn't have the energy to go at him like that. And I guess that makes sense. But you could tell that really hurt them. I have to imagine their points per possession was much lower than it was in game two. And they were right there. Interestingly, the one stat I noticed was that the Lakers had 5 more threes than the Wolves at halftime. And if you had 5 more threes for the whole game this year, you won 77% of the time. And what happened? The Timberwolves come out smoking and close that gap. I think they ended up maybe getting outscored by 1-3 for the whole game. Let's see here. The Timberwolves.
Yeah, I was about to look that up too.
Oh, actually, no, never mind. The Lakers had 17 and the Wolves had 13. So it was close. They closed it by 1, and it was that close of a game. It got closer, but they got a little bit closer in the second half. So that's something always to look out for in the modern game is the 3-point net, the difference. And the Lakers just they didn't have Luka, and that really hurt them.
The turning point for me was Luka getting stripped, which is fine, but then the terrible body language. He was in help side at that point, and then he gets dunked on. And that all falls on Luka if he's not feeling well, or if he is feeling well, or whatever it may be, because you can't bring that type of energy to the playoffs. And we all know Luka's a great player, but I don't think that's acceptable in that moment. And that was a huge turning point. And then Anthony Edwards went on a tear after that.
Well, getting dunked on, I don't think he was going to stop that at that point.
I mean, if he was engaged, he could have stopped him earlier. Like he could have pushed up help side. I mean? Before he took off.
I mean, coming out of the corner, like, okay, maybe, but it just felt like,
Yeah, because he's not even paying attention to help side. He's just in his own feelings. He would have saw him driving earlier.
The ball got stripped from his hands under the basket and went to and then he drove.
Yeah.
But I mean, the worst one I thought was when Rui turned it over near the elbow, and it kind of this is where we need Chip, is it glanced off his foot, and I think Luka like turned to the ref saying, "Why aren't you calling a kicked ball?" And he didn't run down, and they got a layup. Do you remember that play? Did anyone know? You didn't see that?
Actually, is that the same play that they commented on the broadcast? Were you listening to the broadcast?
I was watching the Lakers local feed. I don't know if that's
okay. Well, on the broadcast, they were saying that Luka was turning to say he thought he heard a whistle, and that's why he stopped. He said he thought he heard a whistle when he went to strip. He thought they were calling a foul, and he stopped, and that's why he was putting his hand up to his lip. Like, I thought. Did you not blow the whistle?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
He thought he heard a whistle on that one, and that's why he gave up on the play.
Now, referees have the discretion to like try and find the person who brought a whistle and get them out of there, right?
If there was a whistle, like I don't think that they heard. Yeah, but yes, absolutely, they can have a fan removed if they can identify who blew the whistle.
Right.
If there was a whistle.
Yeah. Now, people could probably do the thing with the mouth and the whatever. I can never.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I can't do that, but.
Yeah. Anyhow, but that's the thing. Like, you got to be careful, especially when those loud, arenas, that people will do anything for the home court advantage. And I think that we're seeing the home court advantage, right? Orlando got it tonight. Yep. By the way, the Clippers, I could tell just watching, but then we started seeing some of the clips come in. There were people who were there, and Intuit is a seriously rocking dome. I mean, even just from the broadcast, it sounded unbelievably loud.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's going to be big home court advantage for them. I expect them to come out. Well, I haven't got y'all's thoughts on this yet. So, is Denver done?
Denver's done. Right? I mean, also they're beat up. Aaron Gordon is injured. So is MPJ. So it doesn't sound like they're going to be. They're not 100%. I don't know if they're even going to play. And I don't think that they're going to be able to handle this. I mean, it's like Kawhi is too much. James Harden is too much. It's really James Harden picked a good time to kind of get young again, get his step back game going. I mean, he looked like young James Harden for a while there. And, they don't have anybody, and they're not deep enough anyway, even if they did, to handle that defensively.
The internet is saying that Jokic now coaches the team.
Well, my next question was for you guys is this, dude. My next question was, a few weeks ago, I heard y'all's Monday live show where right after Malone got fired. So obviously with this performance in the playoffs right now in the first, I mean, I'm not saying that they're out of it necessarily. I think that they probably are the way, for the reasons that you mentioned, but that's going to be one of the first things that's brought up, obviously is was it wise to fire Malone that close to the playoffs? So
yeah,
it must have been there has to be more that we don't know, because it was a really bad time to.
Well, we could talk a little bit, but there's some stuff that went around that I heard. And we could talk a little bit about it, but what I want to say. Oh yeah,
what'd you hear?
The question out there.
What'd you hear, Coach Nick? What did you hear? That's what we want to know.
I'm going to set this up first. If you have a question you want us to answer, the best way to do that is the super chat function over on the YouTube side. So if you're over there, or if you're not, and see Twitter, come over to YouTube. We'll put your question up on the screen. We'll give you lots of hype and love, and it really helps us keep the show going. So we really appreciate it. Because I see some interesting. I'm sure people would want to.
Let me set it up.
What?
Let me set it up for the TikTok cameras. What did you hear about the Denver Nuggets and Mike Malone, Coach Nick?
Well, it sounds like Mike Malone is an insane person, basically, is what I'm hearing. By the way, I know Mike. He's always been really, really nice to me. I've been to at least one or two of his practices. I remember being at practice with the Kings. In fact,
he was a coach.
What?
He was a coach of my basketball camp, and he seemed like a very nice kid when I was like 12, 13. A very nice guy when I was like 12, 13 years old. So
yeah. Well, and I remember Boogie was on that team with the Kings, and this was like in training camp, and he just started screaming and yelling at a player and carrying on and storming off. And Malone didn't even really react. He just kind of let him do it and then get out of there. I think that he figured that might be the best way to handle a player like that. But it sounds like a little anger, he'd kind of fly off the handle a lot. And express his anger a lot, and I think that can wear down after enough time.
Right before the playoffs, that don't sound like a good enough excuse, Coach Nick, to fire.
Okay, so the background is there in terms of that. Now, again, what came out a little bit more was the rift between the general manager and the coaches is why they both got fired. But again, you're right; it doesn't still explain why it was so late in the season. And the Russ thing was, I thought the video I did kind of was vindicated a little bit more because a couple tidbits came out about they're playing him more than Calvin Booth wanted them to, and I don't blame him. Mike, you could see that there's a finite amount of minutes for Russ, and if you get over that, then you get some of the bad Russ. And it's the same thing like we were seeing with Rudy, right? You can get the most out of Rudy. Like there was a play I even shared on Twitter tonight where they completely screwed up picking up all the players, and they had a cutter from the weak side corner wide open, and Rudy was able to hustle down there, stop him from taking the first shot real quick, and then literally just caught the ball out of the air and took it, and then they went down. So that's where Rudy's at his best. He can cover for people. He can recover when he gets beat. That's all the good stuff. But you have multiple players in that team that won't pass it to him. It's 4-on-5 when Rudy plays, which is exactly why you got to give him the 24, 25 minutes tops, because you can't play 4-on-5 in the playoffs and hope to win 4 games.
Interesting. This is my favorite version of Julius Randle.
Okay.
I like Minnesota Julius Randle. I always liked it. I feel like he's reading the floor a little bit better. He's playing within his team. His body language has been better. He was great with the Knicks. I mean, he was an All-NBA player, but I really like this version of Randle this year. Yeah,
we had 4 assists tonight, and I think he was more willing to kind of kick it out instead of really force the issue a couple times.
Yeah. He's been doing that for a while now too. Yeah.
Well, in game 2, we got the old Randle a little bit where he was forcing a lot of the issue, and didn't look as good. And by the way, the same thing with Anthony Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards had 1 assist in the game 2. And he had 8 tonight, and he was really moving the ball. So again, he was kind of frustrated when they were double teaming him and running that zone that they were doing against him and bringing another player over. But the answer is draw them a little closer and then kick it, and you got to get your teammates involved. And then when they get involved, it will open up things for him to start attacking, which is sort of what happened. So he is evolving. He is learning. He's still got 26 attempts in the game and was still a huge factor in that, and his shooting in a way that, like, if you don't see the comparisons to Michael Jordan when you watch games like tonight, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, that dunk he had a couple dunks that were like, nobody really moves like that. Then, besides Michael did. It really is.
What I remember watching Jordan back in the day, and you just felt like when he put his head down and drove, you started to get to the edge of your seat. You know what I mean? You started to set up, and like it's the same thing with Ant-Man when he takes off from the perimeter. Like you just inch closer to the edge of your seat because something's coming, and you can tell when he's about to rise up and try to throw down on somebody. It
was a lot of full speed off too, which Jordan did a lot of too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Off of 2 and he pullbacks and then dunking it. It's the cat-like motion. Like they pounce on the ball and they move like that, and it's like a puma, and very few players had that movement pattern. And so it's just startling to me when you watch the smile, everything just reminds me of Michael in a way that, I feel like he kind of stalled out, right, Combo? We've been talking about this evolution of him for it's probably 3 years now. And there might have been a moment about a year ago, like it's sort of like it's stopped progressing. And I think maybe Minnesota's turmoil sort of got in the way. They got rid of Cat and now they have Randle. And, so I think that maybe he's now, This is now coalescing in this new version of the Timberwolves, but we're really going to have to wrap our heads around before the show's over what happens in the series now, right? They take a 2-1 lead. They have another game at home. They have the home court advantage. What do we? But actually, before we do that, let's get to our first super chat from. I wonder, is this really TJ Leaf in Canada? I don't know, but anyway, thank you so much, TJ. Really appreciate it. Always loved you at UCLA. Can the Lakers make the Western Conference Finals with 300-year-old LeBron? Ooh. LeBron didn't look 300 years old in the first half, man.
He had 38. He had 38. He had 38 tonight.
38.
He hit what? He hit 3 threes in a row too. Like in the the start of the fourth quarter or somewhere around there.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the third one when he came across the court and just caught it and fired it like Steph Curry. I mean, that was crazy. And that's what he's got to do. By the way, the going to the basket thing. There's too many athletes out there up against him, and I know he got a layup on Rudy. But I think Rudy got him once, and then he kind of struggled closer to the basket. So he's finding his ways to be able to bomb from deep and then from mid range, and that's what he's going to have to do because he fell down. There's moments, right? We're seeing the moments of a 40-year-old of what it looks like when you play against all these youngsters. But
right after he hit those 3 threes in a row, they got that steal and that outlet pass to him, and you could tell the gears were going as he tried to catch it. Am I going to pull up and try to do a heat check, or am I going to? And he just fumbled the ball and gave it right back to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I almost feel like he thought maybe that Reeves was coming around real quick, and he kind of dropped it for him to come around, and then Reeves didn't go. It was all that mixed together, right? It got all weird.
Yeah.
That was crucial, by the way. Crucial.
Yeah, it was crucial time. But man, he had a great game, man, and they needed him to have a great game with Luka struggles, but they needed. Listen, if you're gonna. I know it's easier said than done. I know you got a stomach bug, this, that, and other. But if you're out there and you're given that many minutes, like he's still got a lot of minutes for somebody with a stomach bug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you got to be able to put the ball in the net. And he started making some more near the end, but like they needed more out of him in the first half. That really hurt. Yeah.
I mean, he ended up with 8 assists, and he was facilitating, but he had 5 turnovers and just really didn't have enough energy. He got into the lane a couple of times and sort of didn't do his normal magic, miss a couple of those shots that are automatic for him. Mm-hmm. So it was rough, and we're seeing this a little bit now. I mean, we saw Brandon Pajemski had a food poisoning and really tried again, and it really was not effective either. It's tough, man. You can't risk anything out there these days. You got to lock yourself in your room and only eat bread.
I know.
Was Michael Jordan hung over, or he really had the bad pizza?
That whole hungover thing was like it's 15 years after the fact, kind of like injected into the story. I don't know. That was never a thing until recently. I think I'd prefer to think it was a flu game.
But you know this. I mean, from The Last Dance, it's like they delivered him a pizza, and there was like a bunch of people around, and they feel like they poisoned the pizza. Isn't that from The Last Dance? Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry. Wait, was that the same game though? Was it the flu game or was it the pizza game? That's the same game?
Yeah, I think that's the same game.
Okay. Well, it was a flu originally. Then maybe we found out about the pizza a little later, and then
maybe that was it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that was.
By the way, I had a conversation with my son about we're always talking about LeBron versus Michael, and he's a firm LeBron GOAT believer. But first of all, I like to rib him because the chalk thing that LeBron does is a homage to Michael Jordan, a ripoff of Michael Jordan. You all remember Michael Jordan did the chalk clapping in the beginning of the games, right? We all know this. Yeah,
of course.
I feel like it's forgotten lore, and then LeBron kind of took that and then started throwing it up in the air. But it was a direct relation to Michael. But the other thing that Michael invented, I had this memory. We have to ask people out there. I want you to comment if it's a good comment. I'll put it on the screen. I think that Michael, if he didn't invent it, he was the one who made it normal. The fist bump.
I don't know about that.
I think in the mid 80s, when he was doing all those crazy things, his teammates would get so amped up and they would high five so hard it would hurt. Like you can get injured, you hurt your fingers.
He also gets credit for the baggy shorts, right?
Well, that for sure was Michael. Although, funnily enough, if you look at his shorts in the rookie year, second year, third year, they're not even that baggy. He had his Carolina shorts underneath, but you know what I mean. They didn't certainly look as baggy as the Michigan Fab Five.
Oh no,
of course not. Yeah.
So it's weird.
I'll give
there was never like that.
You ever seen that? I think it was like Canisius or something, that dude with the shorts that are like, it's one of those MAC mid-major schools where like the shorts are like down to his feet.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
But I will say that it's a testament to what the shorts used to be, how short they really were, that Michael's like normal length was like baggy and long or whatever, right? Like, so that was probably part of it. It was just longer than the tighty things they used to wear before. But I'm telling you, because we looked it up, and there's somebody like there's supposedly the internet thinks it's in the 70s. A basketball player, I'm forgetting now who, Fred Carter maybe did it. But I'm telling you, the fist bump became normalized with Michael during that period.
That's interesting.
Who were around then who can confirm that. But at any rate. What else do we have to talk about? Do we cover most of
I was going to ask you guys, we were still on the Lakers T-Wolves series. So a big story tonight in the Lakers defeat was their turnovers. We even heard JJ Redick talking about it during timeouts when they mic'd him up, stuff like that. But like that was a big story for them in turnovers. How do they limit those going into the next game? You got another tough game, in Minneapolis. So I mean, and you really do not want, if you're the Lakers, you really don't want to drop another one and go down 3-1, even going back home. So what do they do to limit the turnovers? Or what do they do to switch up the game plan? I mean, we've already talked a little bit about it, but what are any things that stick out to you guys about it?
Well, I think the offensively, when they were, I think the attacking Rudy with both Austin Reeves and Luka by forcing a switch in the pick and roll, that's got to be what they spam all over the place. And they did it like whatever, 18, 19 times. And just so it's clear, aside from like the pick and roll, like at the end of the shot clock, whatever, and they go to that, no team's going to run an action 18, 19 times, right? No team's going to run it because that's, to me, this is an action where they force a switch and they go at him as an ISO, just like they would run horns or they'd run zoom and they run all the other actions, right? That's very rare. You never see that much. And so when you saw it that much, and I did the points per possession, it was very valuable to them in game 2. They had to get back to that, and the only explanation would have been that Luka wasn't feeling right, and I don't know why they didn't try Austin Reeves. I don't think Austin Reeves got one. And that's a problem too. They're on the road. It's all haphazard. Everyone's screaming and yelling, and you lose your focus. And then defensively on Ant, I don't know. I got to go back and look whether they were loading up like they had been. And if they were, they got to be careful because now Ant starts facilitating more, and that got everybody else going off. And they were able to hit some of those threes and just separate the defense more for cuts and stuff. So I would. Those are the things that they have to go back and they have to get Luka back to closer to 100%. Yeah. And by the way, if they do that and they can take game 4, right, and then game 5 it decides the series.
Yep.
And that would be in LA.
It's definitely doable. They really need Luka healthy this next game for sure.
Yeah, and just be prepared for. Well, I know you're not going to want to hear this, Chip, but obviously they want a long series. And they don't want the Lakers to lose, right? And so. And listen, I don't generally buy into any of that stuff. And we saw, actually, let's talk about this. In game 2, the Lakers were called for more fouls, if I'm not mistaken, right?
They were called for 2 more fouls, and they shot 5 more free throws than the Wolves in that game, in game 2. But the talk before the game is, hey, the league is going to make sure that the Lakers win this game and through the refs and stuff like that. And ends up the Lakers got called for 2 more fouls, shot 5 more free throws. They still won the game. And then I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much, but I did text you. It's like there were some key fouls on key players that got early foul trouble against the Wolves. So there was that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Naz Reid got 3 early fouls and he had a heck of a game 1. That kind of put Rudy back on the floor for more minutes. Which hurt them a little bit. I mean, and I'm not a Rudy hater at all. I like his game. I understand the points you guys make, and I agree with them. So, the more minutes that he gets, if he's over 25, then that means they're in my opinion, that something's gone wrong.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, the last 6-7 minutes, it was a 9-point lead pretty much straight over across the board. There wasn't a moment where it was going to really come up. And like in a 3-point game and they call a foul on a 3-point shooter and whatever, like if the Lakers were losing. So, I can't get there anyway, generally on those kind of things. Maybe 2002 Lakers Kings, I've done that video. Even then it was like, actually, if my memory serves, there was a problem. There was a problem in that game 6. I think it's game 6 or game 7.
Game 6, I believe.
Game 6 in 2002. But, again, there's too much scrutiny. There's too much frame by frame video available for everybody to go through now that, I think that's tough. But we'll see, keep your eye on it. It's interesting to see because, again, it's not always the number and the total and the free throws. It's the when it happens. Are they getting a bonus early and they get, whatever, that kind of stuff. So let's get.
And last thing I'll say about that is I just want to say it's completely absurd to jump to that conclusion that the league is going to try to influence it through the refs to make it go 7 games or whatever for the Lakers to win the series. You would have to then believe that the league is actually telling the refs to call the game a certain way or to cheat, and that's just absurd. Yeah. It's just absurd. So that doesn't happen.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, if Luka comes back 100%, and it was and whatever he was tonight, 60-70%, like they were right there. Right, they just about had a chance to make that, and it tilted right at the very end there, and we didn't get a close game. But I think that they should feel okay about that. I'm sure they won't turn the ball over. I mean, was it 16 times tonight, which isn't 16. Like it's on the verge of being a little too many, but not crazy. I want to see what the let's see if I can find the points off the turnovers here because let's see, they don't have it here, do they? Oh well,
they have fast break points, 21 for the Wolves and 11 for the Lakers, which can tie to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm also a little frustrated because sometimes it'll be a turnover if it's a dead ball turnover and they score in the next possession. A lot of times they'll count that. I don't. I only count the live ball turnover into that. And again, if there's a turnover and you get a stop, then it doesn't really hurt you as much. You could do that 5 times in a game, end up having 18, but 5 of those were just ones that you actually negated. It's not as bad, but. And then again, if you hit some more threes than they do, you can really negate all that stuff. And in fact, turnovers and giving up offensive rebounds can be washed away with just making 4 or 5 more threes than the other team. So it's interesting that way. Well, let's get to Ven. Always great to see you, Ven. Thanks so much for being part of the show as always. And if you haven't seen the Minecraft movie, you should go see it. It's delightful. Chip, have you seen the Minecraft movie?
I have not seen it yet.
Oh, got to go see it. Go see it. It's great. I mean, it's fun. And maybe people in your family played Minecraft. I don't know if they did or not. But,
Cam did. My son Camden did. Yeah, so we got to go see it.
Watch it. So, all right. So Ben, thank you so much. And they say I'm late. Turnovers, rebounding, no Hayes to close. So we talked about turnovers for sure. Rebounding. Let's see the split in the rebounding because it didn't feel like it was. Let's see. Total rebounds. Lakers had 49, and the Timberwolves had 52. And then the Wolves had 9 offensive rebounds to 7 for the Lakers. I don't think that there's a distinct advantage, right?
No, I do know that there was that. I do know there was that little run where multiple turnovers consecutively for the Lakers, and then they can't get a stop, or they get a stop and it's a missed shot, and then they give up an offensive rebound and it's a putback or this, and it just seemed like it happened a few times in a row to where it was like this is a problem, And so that's where JJ takes the time out, gets him in the huddles, talking about turnovers. I think they even said something like this. He said, we're going to win this game if we limit the turnovers and we don't give them, these offensive rebounds, or something like that.
JJ is into it, man. He's intense. He's angry. They caught him on a hot mic, really letting them know about it, which I get. I can't picture of all the close-ups you see of JJ this year because they always cut to him because he's a new coach and he was a player. I can't picture any of that footage of him smiling. Can you? In your mind's eye?
I don't think I've seen him smile very much. And granted, the game I did the stats for, the Magic game where they beat the Lakers at home, he was, I'm right there beside him the whole game, pretty much. I can see him right there to my right. And he was just calm and collected the whole time, just like this. Occasionally he'll get riled up, but he was just this demeanor the whole time.
Yeah, and there's something to that as well. You want to, you want business-like, you want emotional stability, all those things is great. But for Tibbs, for instance, Tibbs, I think I've seen him smile twice in the 15 years he's been a head coach, right on the sideline. It's really frustrating to me only because I believe if you can express some of that feeling as well, then your players you can build upon good plays. And if you're always sour, then you can't that doesn't build. You don't get that feeling. Now he's the guys on his team now are really tough. They're used to that. They don't need it, and that's good. But I feel like there's always situations where it would help. Combo.
Tibbs got the kind of voice that could definitely wear on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I was thinking. It kind of brought me back to my playing days, just hearing some coaches' voices that you just don't want to hear from over the course of a whole season. He definitely has one of those voices. No fault to him. I mean, he can't control what his voice sounds like, but that was
yeah. Well, you could a little bit. There's tone, and then there's
think about that every day. Your ear.
Exactly. And by the way, I learned, when I was working and building B-ball breakdown, and I was trying to improve my performance, I went to a voice coach, and I was also coaching at the same time. So I'd come in there and my voice would be also really hoarse because I was in coaching. And she taught me a myriad of ways to be able to overcome that graveliness. And you can then get a clearer tone, which is, maybe more pleasant to hear. I also will say this. I loved when I could have other coaches come in or my assistants take over the practice, knowing that that's 10 minutes of me not talking. And that's going to really, get me through the rest of the season much better. So I always like that. And there are some coaches that simply don't let anybody else talk. I went to some Ben Howland practices at UCLA, and those assistants had to stand there at attention, didn't get to coach at all, really. And this, he was the guy controlling he controlled the thermostat in the office. Couldn't even touch that. So at any rate, a lot of interesting, lots of ways to get the thing done, but we'll see how JJ evolves. But JJ, if you're listening to this, please give us a smile. Like, give your team a little bit of that. That might change the tone a little bit and get some better.
He's got a winning smile. I don't know why he doesn't use it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, is there any more person under more pressure than him right now on the bench?
I don't think the pressure on him is as high as some other coaches.
Okay, I'll tell you who looks like they have the pressure is Tomas in Memphis. He looks like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and I don't blame him. But man, I would not. That's a tough situation.
Tibbs got pressure in this series. He got to get past the Pistons for sure, which it looks like they will.
Okay, will they?
Yeah, they'll get past the Pistons.
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is we can get into our Cade conversation again because I texted this earlier.
I don't think they want to hear it anymore.
They don't want to hear the Cade conversation again.
But we can though. We can talk about it.
I'm loving Cade versus Brunson. They're like going back and forth.
Tells me he's a good finisher, Coach Nick. I keep watching.
He did have a good finish over somebody like on the left side. I think I could see it, or a couple of those, right? Maybe he dunked one. What Cade needs to do more of, and we had Ku Kahil on talking about it, was he turned some of those finishes that are trying to get all the way to the rim into like little jump hooks. That is a lot better for him, I feel like. Just a little bit farther away because he doesn't elevate well enough to get all the way to the rim sometimes. So if he can turn those into like jump hooks and keep himself a little bit more separation,
Coach Nick, your stats. I don't know if we should get into this Cade conversation, but you told me he's the worst finisher in the league, and that is far from the truth, Coach Nick.
He has the lowest.
He's the worst finisher in the restricted area, right?
Minimum 5 attempts per game of the 37 players that do that.
He's not. I mean, just watching him play basketball, he's not the worst finisher in the league.
So I'm going back on that thing. I know we went through the list, but again, you're disqualified from the top 15 in the league if you can't. If you're last. We
went through the list. We already solidified it for the regular season.
I'm not going back on that. We're gonna have to just keep him at 16. Then I don't care. He cannot get in the top 15.
I listened to that whole conversation that you guys had while I was doing work in my garage. I had my TV in the garage. You guys show. And I'm listening to it in the background, and I'm dying laughing in there while you guys are talking.
See the thing with our show is we don't install debates; we just really have them. But maybe we should install them. Maybe we just make a whole show of debates.
Right. Well, here's what I think I want to say about this is that Cade blinked. Right. We had the back and forth. Cade misses the baseline jumper, and then I think another shot at the basket he missed. And meanwhile, Brunson hits the baseline jumper and then goes coast to coast when they all thought he was going to kind of pull it out and run some clock. Mm-hmm. And that kind of sealed the game. So, Brunson, I think, has separated himself. But I think we already had Brunson ahead of him anyway, right?
Combo did not.
Fun to watch that back and forth.
Combo thinks Cade is better than Brunson.
Oh, really? I think Brunson settled that debate, at least for now, don't you?
I mean, who's Jalen Brunson's second best player?
I don't know, Bridges or no, Cat.
Who's Cade's?
Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of the same. Tobias and Beasley and
yeah. I mean, Jalen Brunson has Mikal Bridges, OG, Cat, who's an all-star. I'm missing somebody here. Who's their other guy? Oh, Josh Hart. I'm missing somebody here. Yeah. I mean, they just have a way better team. Way better roster.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm definitely not throwing shade on Cade at all. I think he's legit.
So I mean, Cade's a better two-way player. He's the better passer. He's a 3-level scorer. The one thing Jalen Brunson can do better than Cade is score. I give him that. But Cade does everything else better, and he's 6'6".
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that Brunson has the clutch gene more than Cade.
Yeah. I mean, but you could say that about almost anybody in the league, I think.
Yeah, and that's fine. And by the way, Cade needs this is the year for him to get that experience to then become that guy. Whereas Brunson's had years and years played alongside Luka to get a lot of that experience. Yeah. So it's it's fair to give Cade at least another year or two to kind of get.
Oh there,
as well.
I like his game.
I mean, he had 38 in game 2, so it's kind of like he's here now.
Yeah. Well, all right, but here's his chance. Let's see if he can really do it. Because
here's his chance. He's proven it, Coach Nick.
Well,
what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Here's his chance. He did it. He's doing it.
Right. All right. So game 1 he didn't. Game 2 he did. What was game 3?
So so on a game that he supposedly didn't, he had like 21, 7, and something.
Well, in game 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was like what 6 for 18 or something like that.
And then he had 38 in game 2. And those two combined games, it was only like what Michael Jordan and Oscar Robertson had that many points in the first 2 games.
Here you go. Here's your response from Ven. Ven says AR is better than Cade. The Hillbilly Kobe. I don't know. I don't think so. But AR.
All I got to say is thanks for the super chat.
Yeah, thanks for the super chat. Right. Bless you. Bless your heart.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, Cade had a great game last game too. I mean, it was 24 points, but he had 11 assists.
Yeah,
great passer, Coach Nick. You told me he wasn't a great passer, Coach Nick. Great passer.
He's not a great passer. Some of those assists are going to be pass to the wing, and then Beasley hits a contested three. Like those are the fine. Like LeBron had a drive. And this is a good example. He didn't get the assist because the guy blew it. He missed the three. He drives along the left side, puts the ball up, and just fires a strike 35, 40 feet on the money to the other corner for a wide open three through like three.
Now comparing him,
great passer.
So one of the greatest passers to ever live, though. Yeah,
but he does not do those. He doesn't throw any kind of like skip pass stuff to like weak side corners for threes.
He's a great passer. He's not the greatest passer that ever lived, but he's a great passer.
Not great. He's not great. I don't know. Is he creating like layups for his players?
Part of being great is just making the right pass repeatedly. Like he makes the right pass
and facilitating. I mean, just being a facilitator, getting them to the spots.
Great vision. You seen that lob? You seen that lob to Duren? You saw that lob to Duren in game 2? Good pass.
Yeah. The lob thing is pretty good. Duren is really frustrating to watch. Why was he inbounding the ball on the last play? Anyone have a question?
No clue.
Yeah. Like, wait, now I'm forgetting. It was the left side, and what was the play? How much time do they have left? Do you remember?
5 seconds. Or no, 0.5 seconds.
Right, it was 0.5, so it had to be a precise. Like they try to do like some sort of play where they're going to lob it or whatever. It had to be a really precise pass, and
he threw it out of bounds on the other sideline.
Yeah, like that's got to be Tobias inbounding that because he's 6'8" as well. He's tall. He can get it over. That was crazy.
They should have never had that throw in the first place, though. That was almost a disaster.
Let's shift away from Cade because it's been a lot of Cade.
So we need to talk really quickly about some of the calls because Chip is here. And I know it's getting late for you guys, but we had I think the backcourt was a big one everyone talked about today when Brunson sort of deflected the ball to the backcourt and didn't touch it yet and then picked it up, and then it was not a backcourt violation. Chip, do you want to quickly weigh in on that one?
Yes, of course. So we've already, for those of you that want to see it, so I know Coach Nick, myself have both commented on Twitter about that. There's a pool report from last night that Zach Zarba gives in detail the description of that play and why it was legal. And the L2M report, again, confirms today that it was the correct no call of a backcourt violation. It was not a backcourt violation. So the reasoning is in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter or the last 2 minutes of any overtime period, if there's a throw in from the front court, then to establish status in the front court or back court, you have to catch the ball and have a positive position in that half of the court. And positive position, we understand, and Coach Nick and I talk about this, we understand it's confusing. I would like to see them give a little bit more of a definition of what positive position means. Because there's a part of it that you're just like, it's not as simplistic as just they're positive that they are located in that side of the court, right? It's not that simplistic. It's like there's got to be more to it. So I understand any confusion that people may have, but the whole breakdown of this is it cannot be a backcourt violation there because the throw-in pass was thrown towards the backcourt. That's important. And Brunson caught the ball while moving towards the backcourt. And he's very close to the division line when he catches that. He catches it with 1 foot down in the front court, and then his momentum takes him into the backcourt. By interpretation, that he did not establish a positive position in the front court before going into the backcourt. Therefore, it cannot be a backcourt violation in that case.
Yeah.
And that's only in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter or last 2 minutes of overtime period. There are situations where, and let me just, this misconception that was thrown out a lot today. People kept saying, what is positive position? I understand that question. You have a lot of people responding under tweets saying it's both feet and the ball in the front court. And I just need to say once and for all, if you think that, no, that is not what it means. It could mean that, but it doesn't have to mean that, right? There's situations where you can obtain a positive position with both feet off the floor, a positive position in the front court. There's a case play about it. If a shot goes up and somebody blocks a shot and A2 jumps up from the front court on the along the baseline and throws it all the way back into his backcourt, he was positively in the front court when he was last in contact with the floor, right? It was no question he was in the front court. And so that would be a backcourt violation, positive position. Dribble from backcourt to front court is the only time that both feet and the ball have to touch in the front court to obtain front court status. That's the only time. If they pass the ball to somebody located in the front court and they touch it, like from the backcourt and they touch it, it is gained front court status. If the ball crosses the division line, it's gained front court status.
And we had that play as well tonight with Jason Tatum getting across the front court, and then the ball got tipped, and then he went back to get it, and they called an 8-second violation, right? This is your game, right?
Paulo Banchero.
Banchero was dribbling?
Yes.
Okay. So if you didn't see the game, it was pretty crazy because there was a lot of the questions we had to answer very quickly was, did Banchero dribble the ball across the half court in 8 seconds with both feet and the ball before the ball gets tipped and back into the backcourt, and then he got it? Because obviously, if he didn't establish front court position and the ball got tipped and went back, the 8-second call would apply. They went back, they huddled, right, and they got it right. They said, no, he got in the front, which is correct.
That was great team officiating by the whole crew, but Courtney Kirkland coming in to talk to David Guthrie about that. And good on David Guthrie for realizing maybe he missed something and going to Courtney as well and them meeting. That's good team officiating. That's what you want to see, because that's not something you're reviewing and stuff like that, or challenging, and challenges were off the table for them anyway. So in that situation, Paulo did have both feet touching and the ball touched entirely in the front court. And so he's gained front court status, and he did that prior to 8 seconds, or prior to the magic number, which is 15 in the NBA. The shot clock, if the shot clock hits 15 and they have not gained front court status, then it's an 8-second in the backcourt violation. Okay. When Guthrie blew the whistle, it was 14 seconds on the shot clock. So you can't argue that more than 8 seconds ticked off. Now you just got to figure out and come together and say, was front court status obtained? Yes. Both feet and the ball touching entirely in the front court. It was obtained prior to 15 seconds, the magic number being on the shot clock. Therefore, it's a legal play. Now, and so then they were able to.
The ball just needs to cross the plane. It doesn't have to bounce in the front court. It could be it has to cross the vertical plane, right?
No. So on a dribble from backcourt to front court, both feet and the ball need to touch in the front court.
Touch the floor, the ball?
Yeah. So, like, for example, I could be dribbling the ball with both feet in the front court, but the ball is not touched in the front court yet. And I can then put my feet back into the backcourt. I can have the ball bouncing in the front court and 1 foot in the backcourt and 1 foot in the front court. And then I can move one of those feet to the backcourt, put the other foot in the front court, and I'm still in backcourt status.
Right. So we filmed this, and I'm now realizing I don't know if I ever got to that and finished editing that one. Did I?
You never did.
I'm going to release that ASAP. I apologize.
You've got a lot of footage to go through, though, so it might take a while.
Yeah, I think I started to, and then I got busy. But what I'm saying is, if I could get across with both feet in there, and the ball is floating in my hand, and it crosses the vertical plane, and then someone knocks it out of my hand in the backcourt. The ball was inside in the front court in the air, and then
that only matters on a pass. That only matters on a pass in the NBA.
Okay.
So you know how like
front court status with if the ball got knocked out of my hand before I could get it to bounce in the front court.
So in order to obtain front court status on a dribble from backcourt to front court, during a dribble from backcourt to front court, both feet and the ball have to touch in the court entirely in the front court.
So
it doesn't matter.
Bounce.
It needs to bounce on the court in the front court. Yeah.
All right. Because I'm envisioning, like there's a vertical,
right,
invisible wall.
And that does apply on a pass, because we've seen plenty of times where a player is moving up the court and they throw it back to somebody. They've not touched in the front court yet, but the ball is over the front court. And then they throw it along the division line and their teammate catches it, and it's called a backcourt violation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the ball had crossed over the vertical plane.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. So passing is much different than dribbling, and it's there's lots of reasons. These guys are pretty smart when they put together the rules, right? And they realize probably after a lot of trial and error, when they started seeing some of these crazy plays, that they had realized they have to write a rule for it. That's why I think people sometimes get all upset about like, why are they writing these rules? But like they're all Chip, you can back me up on this. They're all based on actual plays that happened that didn't have any kind of governing over them, and they had to create them because of it. And it just fits the puzzle as you realize the game, evolves.
Absolutely. And then there's some that they add that have occurred, or things have happened in games that they do that, but there's some that they add because they want to shape the game in a different way. You know what I mean? There's things that they want to do in the league that maybe haven't happened yet or whatever, but it's like they want this to be the case.
Yeah.
Coaches challenges, you add an extra one. Now stuff like that,
Movement.
So there's always is there a need for a new rule? And then what is the reasoning behind the rule? That's kind of the process they go through when they adopt a new rule.
Yeah, 24-second clock. Now, Ven is back. Thank you so much. Their question is Cade or Donovan Mitchell? I got to tell you, please go watch the Cleveland Cavaliers video I dropped today. I went through their offense, and it's really cool because they're actually so good, so skilled, and such great shooters. They don't actually have to run a ton of like really complicated sets, but they have really great spacing. They share the ball. The passes are flying everywhere, and it's fun to watch. And Donovan Mitchell, but here's my question: it's almost like Cade or Donovan Mitchell. We have to say Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell, because I go back and forth all the time about who I think is better. And I think that there's moments where Garland was playing a lot better than Mitchell, and then Mitchell goes off and then scores a little bit more, and the transition, that's where he's getting them. They score the same amount of points in the half court, believe it or not, but Mitchell has like 12 more points in transition because Garland's facilitating a lot more in those instances. But they're both really, really difficult to guard, and so I would put Donovan Mitchell doesn't pass as much for you to talk to Combo about the passing, right? Donovan, I guess we could say, is not a good passer because he doesn't do it, right? But he's a better scorer than Cade, right?
Cade averaged more points, rebounds, and assists than Donovan Mitchell this season. I rest my case.
But then we can go to the team and who's got.
Now, I actually think Donovan at his best has proven to be better than Cade has ever been at his best so far in his young NBA career. But I think Cade could eventually become better than him.
Oh, okay. I mean, right, because of the passing thing. Yeah, probably, maybe. Yeah, and then
and to your point with the Donovan Darius Garland thing, Cade has meant more to his team than almost any other player outside of Jokic and Giannis this season.
Okay.
Like if you take Cade off the Pistons, I mean they're the worst team in the league probably.
Well, but you replace him with an average player?
Yeah, the worst team in the league.
I don't know if they're the worst team in the league because they have those vets who know how to play, and they could they'd probably be average or
what like they'll be like one of the three worst teams probably.
I mean, I don't know. I have to look at like who's the league average point guard. We have to figure out who that is and then put them in there. But
like if you take SGA off OKC, I mean they're still like the fourth best team in the West probably.
Fourth in the West, I don't know.
They got a squad. They got it. First of all, he's not playing that well right now, and they're destroying Memphis.
That game last night was wild.
Yeah, I turned it off. I had no idea they were down, and it was like, oh, I don't need to watch this anymore.
Memphis is in a bad spot, huh?
Yeah. That way, speaking of which, the Milwaukee Bucks were down by 10. Didn't seem good at all. I turned that one off too, and they come roaring back behind Gary Trent Jr., who I've always liked, by the way. 6 threes in the third quarter. Bunch those up.
Bubble Trent. It's Bubble Trent.
Yeah, Bubble Trent, right. And that's perfect for him. No pressure, comes off the bench, just kind of lights it up. And Indiana has no hope for that. But they're up 2-1. It feels like, Dame is back. It doesn't look good, right? I don't think Doc has figured out good lineups to figure out how to play these guys together. But believe it or not, like I was kind of giggling a little bit seeing him talk earlier today about how he had no fears about this series down 2-0. He thought we no problem. And again, it didn't look like that for most of that game. And all of a sudden, Gary Trent saved the day. So
you're saying Doc was right.
Doc was right today. Game 3 is going to be it right there. We got to find out right now in Milwaukee. Pull it off. But I don't know, there's something going on. Giannis could put up a lot of numbers and like they'll lose, and the impact isn't as great as you think. Like there's something about Giannis that I'm concerned about too. I can't quite put my finger on it.
Coach Nick, he's the best he's ever been this season.
I know, and it's still like, it's not sort of carrying them as much as you would think it would on those big numbers, So
team sport.
yeah. But it's like the quarterback. Like my son and I had this conversation about like Herbert on the Chargers, right? At some point, team's not playing well. They are the ones. That's why they're there to like put the team on their back and they carry them over the finish line. And so,
how do you feel about Sanders not getting drafted yet?
Yeah,
crazy.
I'm so vaguely aware of this, but I think he's not a really great quarterback. I think, right? Isn't that the consensus, really, when you're talking about ability?
He's got ability. He's got ability. I'm concerned that owners don't want to put up with a spectacle. And I'm not saying that some people like it, some people don't.
What's a spectacle? What does he do?
No, I mean, just like I don't want to say a spectacle like in a derogatory way. I want to say like what comes with it. I know Deion's still going to be coaching Colorado, but like you get his dad with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean they were all worried about that with the Ball brothers. And, it turns out, I mean, I know the father, lost his foot and was sick, whatever. So that probably did something. But he didn't have that effect that everyone, I think, was worried about. Right? So that's good. And I'm just thinking about it in terms of, I'd heard a little bit about it. I might have seen some highlights where, perhaps there's an accuracy issue. Maybe there's an arm strength issue there.
There is, but then there's this notion of he takes a lot of selfish sacks. He's trying to make the extra play when he should have just thrown the ball away in some instances. And it's like he's trying to be selfish with it to try to pad his stats and stuff like that. I'm not sure I subscribe to all that. I know when I watched him, he's an exciting player to watch, and I enjoy watching exciting players. And I think he could be great on an NFL roster, man. I really do. I just we'll see how it pans out. There's not big stock on him right now. So
right. I mean, listen, Tom Brady was drafted in the
7th, I think.
7th round.
So there you go. Probably Steve Young was probably drafted late too, if my memory serves. So, but you guys probably don't even know Steve.
Dan Marino is the greatest quarterback ever, though.
Yeah, he was one of my favorites when I was growing up.
Let's end with this. Who has been the MVP of the finals? Sorry, who has been the MVP of the playoffs thus far?
Ooh. Well, let's see. I mean, it's got to be a team that's up right now, right?
I think it's Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard is what I was going to say.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of thinking about Brunson, but you know what? Kawhi's game 2 was like one of the greatest performances we've seen ever. And then game 3 was.
I think nobody in the league scores on a set defense better than Kawhi right now.
Yeah. Someone just did a really cool thing, I think, cutting back and forth between him and Michael. And they don't move at all movement pattern wise, but man, is his game really like Michael in a weird way, because it's all a lot of mid range, just like Michael was, and it's unfortunate Michael didn't shoot threes. Like, it wasn't allowed. It wasn't.
Kawhi shoots a 3 really well too, though.
Yeah, he does. I mean, it has got to be perfect when he shoots 40 degrees on those, but
dude, it's so crazy that he shoots that low, man. But that 3 he hit at the end of the second quarter going into halftime was just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely Kawhi has sparked them. And again, the Intuit Dome is a huge advantage. The wall, by the way, I think I finally understood, and I was dumb about it, was why the visiting team goes up against the wall in the first half of all these games. But it's because, and Chip, you can back me up on this, the visiting team gets to decide which direction they start out in, right?
Yeah, I believe the visiting team selects and they start warming up on that side of the court too when they get there, and then that's the side they start at.
Right. So that's a problem with the wall itself. Is you want that to be behind the visiting team's second half, but they can't control that. So you almost need to have a wall on both sides. Or maybe, I don't know, but that's probably too many seats to take away from the higher paying customers. But and if you don't know about the wall and Intuit Dome, it's amazing. It's just, you have to stand the whole time. Like, they have a little tiny thing you can kind of lean on a little bit at sometimes, but they have a completely coordinated chants, and they have all sorts of fun stuff. And then what they did for Jokic was they all had horse hats. Did you all see those pictures?
I didn't see it.
They had hats with a horse that when you put them underneath like a horse to try and distract Jokic, who is a horse lover.
He's a horse lover. Dude, that's really a cool concept, because you see it in soccer stadiums all the time, and European football and then American soccer stadiums all the time, where they'll have a wall on one side where everybody's standing and there's no seating at all. Like, it's a cool concept to bring to basketball in the States anyway. I guarantee you, over where Luka's played in the past and where Joker's played in the past. Like, guarantee you, they are standing the whole entire time.
Yeah, and then people are mad at us. We're not saying Giannis has been the MVP because he's averaging 35. They're down 2-1. That's part of it, and I get it. They didn't have Dames. That's tough. Wait, they're down 2-1, right? Yeah, or they just got the first game. So, so that's true. I mean, Giannis is doing everything he can. I just feel like they're in the past, like other guys who do those kind of numbers, they can put the team on their back and they carry them over the finish line. And for whatever reason, it's not quite there for some of those games I'm seeing from Giannis a lot. This year was tough, but we'll see what they can do. We'll see if Doc can adjust. He's not usually the king of adjustments, but maybe he can just get that Gary Trent 6 threes in the third quarter again for game 4, and they'll be right back in it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, listen, guys, it's late for you. I want you guys to get some rest so we can come back and do this again. And maybe over the weekend, if you guys are around, we can try some more. But thank you for staying up with me. Thank you all for being out there. A huge crowd tonight, and I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for the super chats. That was Ven was the MVP of the show tonight, and TJ out there. Thank you so much. And don't forget, sports fans of B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in? Are you in, guys?
I'm in, baby. I'm in.